Right, so to move on, alright? So you have the two circles having the same centers. What we're doing next is to divide our two circles into 12 equal parts. So we're only doing that with the 30, 60 degree set square and the t-square. Alright, so I'm going to start by drawing my horizontal line passing through the center. And you'll be able to see a center because of the point that is placed there to draw the circle. So draw a line across. So draw your line across. Next. So I'm doing the vertical line. So bring down your t-square, your set square, sorry, at the bottom to draw your vertical line. Now I have to leave mine like this because my drawing is big, so I will not be able to do it as I'd like to do it here. So I have to do and then I have to extend after. Right? So draw your horizontal line, bring down your t-square so that you can draw your vertical line now. So draw the vertical line passing through the two circles. Draw the vertical line passing through the two all the way down, right? I'm going to extend mine after because once I shift this, I would not get my angles to fall in place as I would like. So this way. Next, I'm going to place my set square as we normally do when we're doing the isometrics. I'm going to put it on its back like this, slide it to the point in the middle, and draw the line. You should be able to do that all the way through your two circles, right? Because your set square is long enough, right? So this angle here is 30 degrees. This angle here is 30 degrees. I'm going to create a wiper now. I'm going to create a wiper. Do the same thing on the other side. Create a wiper. Do the same thing on the other side. Right? So create a wiper. Do the same thing on the other side. Next, I'm going to put the set square now up on its back. Put it up on its back. The angle here now is 60 degrees. So this part is a 60 degree angle on the set square. Right? I'm going to slide it to the middle and draw my line. Then I'm going to create a wiper effect now. So wiper effect, what I'm using now, this angle here will be the same 60 degrees. So next wiper effect, when you put this back, I had it like this. Right, to draw this angle here at 60 degrees. So what I'm going to do now, put it, well, let me see on its belly now. Put it on its belly. Belly. And then I'm going to draw the angle, this line here. So I have to extend my line since my set square is not big enough. Right, so that is how you divide a circle into 12 equal parts. I'm going to extend mine at the bottom, and then I want to now to number it in a clockwise direction neatly. So 1, 2, 3, just as a clock. So go ahead and Four. Right, so we're moving on. Not yet. So I can move on now. Yes?
Yes.
Right, so we're going to draw a series of vertical lines and horizontal lines inside of the two circles. So I'll explain. Now, the lines that we're about to draw should never go outside of the bigger circle. So nothing will be on the outside here. All right? Everything stays inside. Now we're going to do some vertical lines from the larger circle, and we're going to do some horizontal lines from the smaller circle. So the lines 1, 2, 3, and so on, I'm going to draw lines from there. So let me start with 1. For example, 1, I'm going to draw a vertical line from 1. That line is going to come down. And on one of the smaller circle, that line is going to come across. So when these two lines meet, it's going to form a triangle. Repeat that. For the larger circle, we are drawing vertical lines. So at 1, I'm drawing a vertical line. And at 1 on the inside, I'm drawing horizontal lines. So these two lines are going to meet. At 2, remember we said vertical line. So I'm going to do vertical line. I cannot go up with my vertical line because it will be on the outside and it must be inside. So I'm going to draw the line down, and then this 2 is going to come horizontally and they will meet. 3 will stay as is, right? Because if you're going to draw a vertical line, it's going to be outside and you already have a horizontal line. So you leave 3 as is. 9 will stay as is. 12 and 6 will stay as is. Then we come to 4. So 4 will be horizontal and then vertical. This one here, vertical, horizontal. This one here, vertical. This point here, horizontal, and so on and so forth. So let's see if we can do that. And you're using your set squares anti-square to do so. So I'm using my Z square. At 2, at 1, I draw my line down. So I draw it down, and then at 1, I draw it across. So let them make sure that they meet. They must meet, because what we need is the point where they meet. That is where one point, one mark of my elliptical shape is going to form. All right. Next one. Vertical, horizontal. And it doesn't matter which one goes first. If I want my horizontal first and then followed by the vertical, that's fine. And there's also a little shortcut. Your vertical lines will line up. The line 1 and line 5 is going to line up. So when you come down with the line, you can go up here. Right? When you do the line across here, you can go across here. But if that will confuse you, then do them individually. And they must meet to form a triangle, then you erase the excess. I know I didn't tell you how to walk with French here. To walk with the French nails. So I have some here that you're going to use. Alright, so let's plot our points now. Yeah.
Was that amplifier or resistance? What was second French cup?
Pardon? Yeah. Just pass them. Just pass these around. Come here.
Just the front of the balance after. So anyone?
You may. Sometimes you need more than one, but yeah. Let's see how you think your points will be, and then after you'll see which ones will go better. Yes, but it's quality. All right, so we got. Okay, so let's plot our points now to form this elliptical shape that we talked about. So the point where the vertical line meets with the horizontal, that's one point for our ellipse. There's another point for our ellipse. There's another point for the ellipse. Another point. Another point. Another point. Another point. No, don't block up the thing and do that, because when you draw, you'll see all the big dots and so on the drawing. Right? So that's points are placed there so that you know exactly what path you're taking. Now on the board, I also place these two terms, major axis, minor axis. The major axis is 100 millimeters, so it means that the largest circle will be, so your ellipse would look something like this. Your major axis would be the distance from circumference to circumference from the longest point of an ellipse. So the longest point of an ellipse is called the major axis. The longest point of an ellipse is called the major axis. So it runs from circumference to circumference. Now remember, a circle also runs from circumference to circumference. But with a circle, you have the different names. So it will run from center to center. You have the diameter and so on. You can also have the one that comes apart from circumference to circumference. But when it comes to elliptical shape, You have the major axis, which is the longest distance. The minor axis now is the shortest distance, and this one runs from the top here to the bottom, so that's the minor axis, and this is the major axis. So I can call this here AB as the major and CD as the minor. So CD, AB. The 100 millimeters here is a distance from 9 to 3. So we can mark those 2 points because you drew that first circle, or whether you did the first one, they have little one here first. But the longest distance here will be our major axis, which is 100 from this point here. And then we have the minor, which is 60, which will be from the smaller circle here, from this point to here. So this completes our points for our elliptical shape. Now you need to use the French curves in order to get your arcs to run from point to point, and it must run smoothly without having to make any indent. So you don't want to see any indent as you draw your elliptical shape, right? You have different set squares. Sometimes it will require you to use the long one. Sometimes it requires to use a little one. Sometimes it requires this side, this arc. Sometimes it requires here. Sometimes it requires inside here, right? But the whole thing is with elliptical shape, it is pieces of arcs that are connected together in order to form your elliptical shape. So whichever ones that can work better for you, all you're doing is looking to see the direction in which this is a point here. Here I'm looking in this direction. So I want to see how much of those I can cover to get my arc to run from this point to this point to this point. Sometimes you can only get these 3. Then you have to use another part of the sets of the French curve to give you this part and here. So it does not always require one set square. So you may have to switch up the French curve, sorry. So you may have to switch up sometimes to get your elliptical shape. So I have all of those here in case you chose one and it's not working for you, then you can take another one. You're trying to follow your points. And your ellipse must be dark. So when you're doing this, once you see you do it live, so you use the French curve. Once you place the 3 or 4 that you find it's working well, once you do the first line light, then after you go and you darken that portion. But sometimes when you go back now, you can't figure which part you use to give you that elliptical shape. So we look at the major axis, which is the longest distance through the ellipse. And then you have the minor axis, which is the shortest distance through the ellipse. And then we look at the focus points, normal and tangent and that kind of thing.
Small one or big one? Big one.
Already? So I guess that's your first attempt. So the next time when you do it over, then you will try to get your curves much smoother. Persons who are able to nail this at the first go, you don't have to do it over unless you want to. But you must do your borderline, your title block. Your title will be ellipse. So that will be the title. What else? The scale sail is the same. The scale is the same. The date you can put whichever date you do the drawing. Your drawing number. So you can leave the drawing numbers out. Just write in drawing number and leave the drawing numbers. So when we put them in, then you're going to put drawing 1, 2, 3, and so on. Right? So you don't necessarily have to put a drawing number, because what will happen now, when we try to collate it, you might have a drawing number 3 coming in place of drawing number 1. So it would not be in order. Yeah? So you can leave that the drawing number. So you just write the word drawing number, but you leave the number itself. So we'll do the normal and tangent in a while, and then after I'll give you a break, and then we do the last drawing for the solid geometry. Mm-hmm. Yours then? Huh? Well, well, you have to use the curve that would let your object smooth when run smoothly. So you have to know which parts will give you that effect.
You see this side higher than this side, and you see it can jump.
So then here's what you have to do. When you get this one side perfect and you see which, let's take example you use here, right? And you do here, you do here, this side, and do here.
I tried that, but it was good. I know you can.
So that's your first attempt. So it looks good from far. Yeah. Don't take it out yet. We have to do the other part. The normal and tangents. Yes. You have to do the normal and tangent. Because they like to give a lot of questions on tangents, the normal and tangent, and so on. The steps and all of those things. So that way you don't really have to set it up in there. I mean, you're good. Oh, it's really so good. Right, so we can move on now. Yes? Not yet? Well, I didn't plan to give y'all to do the ellipse. I was going to give y'all another drawing, but I said the other one might take longer. So that's why I decided to do that. There are so much interested ones that I would have liked y'all to do, but they only asked for the three. Right, so I think all already know. Right, so I know some people want to take a little break. So let's do the last part of this. It's very unlikely that they will give you a tangent ellipse alone. We always associate an ellipse, whichever method, with a normal and a tangent, right? So I need to at least explain that part so you see how that is done. Right, so on the drawing here is the concentric circle method or the auxiliary circle method. And what we're going to focus now on is a tangent and a normal. But in order for us to get a tangent and a normal, there's something that we need to do, and you have to know that it's a multiple choice question. We need to find what you call the focus point, or your foci. So foci is the plural of the word focus. So it's that central point that you use to be able to do the operation that we are about to do. So in order to draw your normal and tangent, you must have, first of all, your foci, or your focus point 1 and your focus point 2. Now to find your focus point, you must open your compass to half of the major axis. Know that? Once you are finding your focus point or your foci, you open your compass to half of your major axis. That's a multiple choice question. Very often they like to ask that question. Right? So to find your focus point or your foci, because it's 2 points that we have to find, right? So once you want to find our focus point, you must open the compass to half of the major axis. So this is my half of the major axis. The major axis is the entire distance passing through the middle of the ellipse. So I open to half of the measure. Yeah? I'm going to place my compass point on the minor. So let me just put letters here now for you. So I call here C and I call here D. In case persons are taking notes and so on. So let me go that again. To find the focus point, we open the compass to half of the major axis. We place it on the minor at C. The minor axis at C. So remember, minor is the shorter distance at C. And I'm going to scribe an arc to cut the horizontal line. That will be my first focus point. And I'm going to have a second focus point. So I'm going to call this point F1. And here, F2. So that's where you find your focus point. They may give you in the form of steps. So to find the focus point, you open the compass to half of the major axis, place it on the minor, and then you scribe the arc to touch or cut the major axis on both ends. So that is a focus point 1, focus point 2. Now you are going to indicate where you want your tangent to be placed. So you come up with a point where you want your, remember tangent is a straight line that touches the circumference of a curve, and we do have a curve here, right? So your tangent can be placed here, it can be placed here, it can be placed here, here, it doesn't matter. So you want to indicate the point where you want your tangent to be placed. I'm going to call, I'll use this point here, that same point that came from 1, and give it a letter. So I have C already, my name starts with a C. So I have C already, so I'll put a P for Peters. So you come up with a letter where you want your tangent. So that's where I want my tangent by Peters, right? So that's where I want my point to fall. Next step. So next step, I'm going to connect F1 and F2 to P. I'm going to connect F1 and F2 to P. So I'm going to draw a line from F1 to P and F2 to P. F1 to P and F. Let me use a different color chalk so that you should be able to see the difference. We're drawing a line from F1 to P and F2 to P. Now those two lines are going to form an angle. Those two lines are going to form an angle. We're drawing a line from F1 to P, F2 to P. So as those two lines are drawn to P, they will form an angle. So you draw a line from F1. It doesn't matter what your angle will look like. Right? So you draw the line from F1 to P, F2 to P. So when the two lines are meeting at P, they will form an angle. So what I want to do here now is to bisect the angle that is formed. And once that angle here is formed, that now will become my normal, and then I'm going to do my tangent. So we have the focus and foci done. This is done. This is done. So we here are the last two. So compass point goes at P. I'm going to first. That is up to you. Compass point at P. And what we're doing is bisecting that angle. So to bisect that angle, I'm going to scribe an arc here. One, to touch the two lines are extended. One here, this one. So from P, one. And I'm going to open my compass a little wider now because the angle here is wide. When we drew the line from F1 and F2, that line is wide. So if I were to, from here, scribe an arc and so on, it may end up, so it may end up sometimes on the drawing here, and it could be a little confusing. So I'm going to just make this here a little wider. Come back here, on the arc, scribe an arc, and from here, scribe an arc. Back here. So from this point, scribe an arc. From here, scribe an arc. You got that? So here, one, here, two. You want to draw a line now passing through. Draw the line passing through the intersection. So from there, that line goes outside from, so that line goes outside of. So we're just doing this, as I said, for the SBA. We will do more of this because we still have to do the rectangular method where we have to do the same thing, and we have to do the foci method where we have to do the same thing. So the F1 and F2, finding a point where we want to place our tangent, so we do that from P, where we drew the arc? Yes. Right, so what we did here is to divide or bisect the angle. Right? So these two lines actually form the angle. This line, the red line, and the next red line, these two lines, they actually form the angle. So if I have two lines like this, and I need to form an angle, this is my point, I'm going to create an arc here, place my compass here, scribe an arc, place the compass, scribe an arc, my line will go through there. So that's what I'm doing here, right? So compass point on P. Yes, because we finished with this already. You finished with the ellipse, right? So now it's a different aspect of the drawing that they're asking for, which is the normal and the tangent. Yeah? So you expected a normal and a tangent to be outside. Alright. So compass point on P. Compass point on P. Compass point on P. I'm scribing an arc that will touch, in this case, my red line, two red lines. I'm opening my compass a little wider. Place it here. Scribe it up. Place it here. scribe an arc.
Very interesting.
So once you do that, draw your line passing through point P. Draw your line passing through P. Say that? From the intersection that's P, so it must go on the outside because not your tangent. Yeah, you must bisect again.
I think in the practice will be fine, but I think I will also damage it.
Right? So your last step now. So last step.
So Miss, what line is
Which one?
the line we just
So that line here would be the normal. But yeah, in order to have a normal, you must have a tangent. So we go to get a tangent. Yes, Shania.
Okay.
So y'all understand the 90-degree method, or you want to do the bisected method? To do the tangent, there are two methods. So you can either do the 90-degree method, or you can do the bisecting method.
Because in all honesty, I don't know what to do. Also, which one is easier?
Y'all did 90-degree angle yesterday.
Well, Miss, in all honesty, I don't remember any of that. So whichever one you find you will catch on easy if you just do that one.
Alrighty.
Which one less?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
is which one that y'all will understand.
Miss,
It's
which
not
one
what
you
you
understand?
It's not, it doesn't necessarily mean because it's easier you'll understand that method. But we did 90-degree angle yesterday, so if we did 90-degree and y'all understood the 90-degree, then y'all could do the 90-degree. Alright, so let me explain. Now what we're doing now is trying to get a straight line that will touch P, right? So the bisecting method will be like this. Now the same distance that we have inside, right? We'll put the same distance on the outside. So what you're doing is making the distance here, this distance, the same as this distance, right? Once that is done, you are going to bisect now the new length of the line. Yeah? So the same distance here from P to the line inside is the same distance on the outside. If you use that method, you place a compass point at the end. You know how to bisect. When bisecting, you must open to greater than half. So you open to greater than half. You scribe an arc outside here. And you scribe the arc on the other side here. Then we place the compass point. Next end, scribe an arc, scribe an arc. So once you do that, that line up your intersection, that would be a tangent.
After you put this on this outside.
Uh-huh. So this distance is the same as this distance. Place the compass point here now. You open to greater than half because you're bisecting the line up. Scribe, scribe, then place it here, scribe, scribe.
This one like I open that so like the act down there.
Down where?
Down by F here.
You down here still?
No, this after bisect the angle, right? Right. So I put the point on P and then I open to
You place it
where
here.
the bisect that line.
Right, so this is what you're talking about, right? So you do this already? That's what you're doing now?
No, it's at the 10.
Right, so you have this line? Yes?
Yes.
Right, so what I'm saying is the distance, whatever length you have here, make this distance the same here. So from P to your intersection, make that distance the same at the top
So
here.
then you go from to outside.
Yeah, you can go on the T.
But if it's not here, okay.
But that's okay.
And then after that,
That's okay. So once you have that now, bisect the new length of the line. So then we bisecting this line here now. Yeah?
so this there.
Mhm. Yes, Destiny.
This so this happened.
So you here now? You did this already, no? You did both ends? So you must do this and this. So let me repeat it. You place,
This for actually
that's alright. Right, so put your compass point. Put your compass point on the intersection. Because you took this distance here, not so? You took this and you transfer it here. Yeah. So what we're doing now is bisecting the line here. So you put in your compass point.
Oh, that's the whole long line.
Yes.
What?
So we bisecting that whole long line. So compass point on the intersection. You open it to greater than half. You open it to the greater than half, or you can utilize the entire length of the line. Yeah? You scribe. Right? So you scribe here, scribe here. Next side. So you scribe again, let them intersect. And scribe here. Right, so let me draw the tangent here now. So the intersection to the intersection, you draw that line, that must be a dark line. So the line must be dark. You darkening that line is passing on P. And I'm also darkening this line here. This line is our normal. The normal is 90 degrees to our tangent. And then you have to put on your notes. So that's your normal, this one is your tangent. Yes. Remember, tangent doesn't go inside of a figure. But we finished with the operation of doing the ellipse. And the method of that ellipse needed to do the concentric circle method. The two circles. Yeah? So it's okay if the tangent here is going inside of this circle here. But this part is not part of the ellipse per se. Yeah, it's a method for you to be able to get your ellipse. So we finished with the ellipse. We looked at the major axis, minor axis of 4C, or focus point 1, focus point 2, the tangent, and the normal. So these are terms that you need to be familiar with because they can ask you for different questions as it pertains to the topic of ellipse. Right? So as I said, we'll do more of those in September, God's willing. All right. So one, yeah. So y'all take a little break. What I will do today, I'll just explain the end elevation. No, the end elevation, and then we have to do it tomorrow. So that'll be the first thing we do in the morning. So when you take a break and when you come back, I'll explain the end elevation that we need. We do the end elevation in the morning, and then we do foundation also tomorrow. The two arcs, this here? This here?
Yes.
But the same arc that you did from here, remember you bisected? So you can't bisect on one side.
Yeah.
You must bisect. So you're using the same here. So when you scribe here, you have to scribe here. You put it